Instead of choosing to be invited to the table, make your own table.
Why haven't you're very successful, you've had multiple companies, multiple exits. Why haven't you been limited by a story? Would you say is your biggest, best tip for our listeners who want to take their business beyond seven figures? All right, hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Beyond Seven Figures podcast. So my guest today, selfishly, I brought him on for my own purposes. And that's because this guy, his energy is phenomenal. And I was thinking about it the other day and I go, I could use some more Ramon energy in my life. There's just something about that. His passion is, I don't even want to know if optimism is the right word. His mindset, everything just leaves an impression, just makes you feel good for hours, for days, for weeks, for months. He'll say something and it'll just kind of stick and it'll carry with you. He's a brilliant man, serial entrepreneur. He's recently been hired by Bitdefender as a small business ambassador. He's all over the news. He's keynotes on God knows how many different stages. He wrote a book called Celebrity CEO. In fact, it's Celebrity CEO, How Entrepreneurs Can Thrive by Building Community and a Strong Brand. He's just a wealth of knowledge, but more importantly than any of that, he's just one of the greatest souls, left an impression on my life many years ago. And I've just always wanted to make sure that I could reconnect and bring him back. And I think if you were to ask him today what his biggest accomplishment is, he's going to tell you he's now a grandfather. So without further ado, Ramon Ray, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, Charles, thanks for having me. We're breaking news. This is the first show I'm on, first podcast I'm on. We're talking about break news on the Entrepreneur Founder Show or the Beyond Seven Figures podcast. But thank you, Charles. You're an amazing human and just always good talking to you. It's like when we just caught up before we started, recording this. So those are the best relationships. And I appreciate being here. And kudos. Hey, what's up, Seven Figure Podcast, folks? Good to be here with you, Charles.
So,
Thank you.
you've got your grandchild. Is it a grandson or a granddaughter?
Grandson, name is Ezra.
So we have Ezra, we've got your grandson. You've already created a legacy that he's going to be proud to say, this is my grandfather, this is what he's done, and so forth. Now, let's fast forward a few years. Ezra gets older and he comes to you and he says, hey, Grandpa, how do I become successful in life? How do I become a successful business owner? I've got these aspirations. I've got these ambitions. Have you thought about what are the lessons that you're going to give Ezra as he grows up?
Charles, I love the question. I'd love to hear what you would say, but I think there's two simple things I would say as one who has started a few companies and sold a few companies and other things. I think two things I would say, Charles, is one is the networking and relationships and quote unquote soft skills, as people say, just being a good person, being honest, being kind, having the right mindset. I'm stuffing all that into a box. That's one side of it, I think. And you can help me know what you would call these things. But I do think the other side is knowing the art of business, as Marcus Lemonis and others, and I'm sure you say, you do got to know your numbers, Charles. You do got to know be very good in one of them, either knowing your numbers, knowing marketing, sales, one or two aspects of business fundamentals. You got to know. Everything else, as Maria Forleo talks about, you can figure out. But I would tell them one, again, just to repeat the concept I'm trying to share here is be a good person, be good networking, be kind, be nice, just a good human that people like to be around. And then two, to build the business, really, if you want to build it to 7, 8, 9 and more figures, then you do kind of have the fundamentals of what it takes to scale. Those two things, what I tell them, the rest, you'll figure it out, man. I don't care if you go to Thailand or Texas or Australia or Austin, you'll figure it out.
Yeah, when you start a business and you've started many and you've sold many and whatnot, the path to growing a business is you get your ups, you get your downs, and so forth. And the ups can be really, really high, and the downs can be really, really, really low. And so, as you're communicating that with Ezra, a lot of people nowadays are feeling the pressures, whether it's the pressures of AI or they're feeling the pressures of economic changes or economic uncertainty. And even when the economy is growing great, there's still going to be moments where there's these dips and so forth. And so what do you tell Ezra during those moments of just, you get these painful dips where in the back of your mind, you want to give up more than anything else in the world. What do you tell Ezra about those dips and when he finds himself there? What is your advice?
I love that, Charles. I'm liking this interview style, man. This could be the Ezra podcast. What
Maybe you
Ramon
share
would
with
tell
them.
Ezra. Yeah, this could be what Ramon would really. I like this. What would Ramon would tell Ezra? I like the framing of this. You're a pretty smart guy, but I, talking about the lows. Let me move this non-business for a minute because I think it'll help you understand where I'm coming from. I bet we have men in our lives, Charles, not too many, hopefully, men in our lives who are just downtrodden, full of despair, like the buddy who you have to go to their house maybe in the middle of the night and say, dude, this is not how men show up, dude. You shouldn't do this or talk to your wife this way. If you get what I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
that you just gotta kind of be their armor bearer and say, dude, did you go to work today, dude? You shouldn't have been fired from the third job. So how can Ezra not be like that? I find that one, surrounding yourself with good people can't hurt. You're surrounding yourself with other good men. You purposely say, I want to follow Charles. Charles is having an event. Let me sign up and go to it. Charles, would you mind if I spend 30 minutes for you just to talk to me or whatever, meditate with me, whatever the thing may be in your life? I think that's one. Surround yourself with good people. Number two is really it is a pick yourself up by your bootstraps attitude. One saying is, who loses if I don't win? So, Charles, when I'm outside, maybe, Charles, for all you know, it could have been today where I had to walk outside this door in the rented Airbnb I'm in today and go sit in the patio. And I had to think because something bad happened, something didn't good happen. Even though my grandson was just born, I had to, this line of credit didn't go through, this customer didn't come through, this didn't happen well. You just got to pull yourself together. And I'll end on this. There's a movie you may have seen it, U517 or U571,
For
about a
submarine
German.
mate? Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
I saw that for like the 85th time yesterday. The leadership in that, where the leader said, young man, he grabbed the young man. The young man ended up giving his life. But the principle I'm making, he said, you have to win. You have to turn that button, turn that hose, turn that nozzle, or we all will die. You just have to get it done. So I hope that answer wasn't too long, but that's what I would kind of tell Ezra is that surround yourself with good people. Internally, you have to have some wherewithal, but then sometimes, Charles, you just got to show up. I don't know, Charles, right now, what's around you. You could have just had the worst thing happen, but you're like, you know what? Got this call, Ramon. It just got to get done. When we're finished, I'll crumble and I'll cry, right? But this is what men like Charles, Ramon, and women, what we do.
It's interesting. So in our board of directors program, we got some really, really smart 6, 7, 8, and every once in a while we get some 9-figure CEOs in there. And earlier today we had a board of directors session. And one of the guys was just talking about how the influence of being around other people, other ambitious people, other people that are just driving to get up and accomplish and do such great things that, like you're saying, you get your ups and downs. And it just so happened that this particular morning, there was a bit of a down part and just showing up and being around with other people that lift you up. So I traveled the world with Tony Robbins for a while between my wife and I, and we invested quarter
Mhm.
million dollars to just travel the world and, all that other stuff with him. And it was pretty cool because
That's a big deal, though, Charles. I want to hear more about that story. It's like, me and Obama or Trump or take your politician. We went together to the islands together. Let's stop. Wait a minute. What did you just say? Go ahead, Charles.
I,
Continue
I
the
was
story.
with President Leclerc in South Africa. That's a different story for another day.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about Tony Robbins was that, he talks about this saying 70 degrees. Like most people are comfortable in
Mhm.
a room of 70 degrees. And interestingly enough, I had this conversation with my son not too long ago. And, we're in this room of 70 degrees and that's, really, really comfortable. And the thing is like when your friends start to drop below that and they get to like
Mm.
68, 65 or whatnot, it makes you uncomfortable when they're at a lower temperature. So what happens
Yes.
is you reach down, you help them up, you lift them up. But then the opposite is true. As you begin to succeed and achieve, and you start moving to 72, 74, 76 degrees, and all your friends are at 70 degrees, it makes them
Mhm.
uncomfortable. So oftentimes they tend to reach up and try to pull you back down to that 70 degrees. And so, what's really important as you succeed as a CEO or as a founder and whatnot, your temperature continues to rise. And being able to be around other people, ideally, what you want are people that are operating at 80, 85 degrees, 90 degrees, and so forth, because they're the ones that are going to turn around. I mean, look at what happened when you and I started this conversation. Immediately, what you're saying is, hey, Charles, I've got this person that could benefit you. Let me introduce this person to you, and this can help you. And then I'm like, hey, Ramon, I've got somebody who's running this big event. Let me send an introduction because they could get you on their stage. And and all this other stuff. That's what happens when you surround yourself with people that are operating at a higher degree. By nature, it's like, how do I add more value into your life? How do I help make you better instead of what can I get from you? What can I
Right.
get from you? Right. And that's people who are operating at a much lower. It's like, we're having a conversation. What can I get from you? That's not people you want
Yes.
to surround yourself with.
And Charles, you know what's interesting about that, Charles? Is it correct? The reason why that works, again, we'll take me and Charles. If Charles is high flying, instead of me saying, as he is, instead of me saying, what can I take from him? If we're at least within the realm of vibe and liking each other, two entrepreneurs, we're doing something not even directly the same, but we're moving in the same direction, especially spiritually and more.
Yeah.
If I'm like, how can I add value to him? Of course, I'm going to get some benefit. Of course, it's a plus one. Charles and I are not stupid. We're running businesses. We know we need to make money. We got to provide for our families. But you're right, Charles. Not what can I sell, Charles? How can I get from him? Here's a coupon. No, it's like, dude, okay, you're building this, or what we talked about. I don't know if you want to talk about it here, but offline, your products and things you're doing. I'm like, okay, let me think. How can I sell that sucker? How can I add value to him? Everybody
It
wins.
is. Yeah.
Everybody
Yeah,
wins.
you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, the attitude of abundance.
I've spoken this on past podcasts, but we're bringing it up again. You've heard of the phrase Darwin survival of the fittest. And
Mhm.
commonly, when you think of Darwin survival of the fittest, what normally comes to mind? How would you describe it to somebody?
Yeah, well, what comes to mind if I didn't know or if I'm not sure where you're going, because you biased me, Charles, you biased me here, is dog eat dog. Survival of the fittest. I gotta win. There's only one piece of bread. Me and Charles are left standing. I gotta grab it as fast as I can to nourish myself and keep going.
Right,
That's what
and
I
that's
would
the way it's
be able
commonly
to.
taught, right? Darwin survival of the fittest is means like the
Right.
baddest, toughest MFer on the planet, like that's the
Mhm.
one that ends up winning. But actually, it was Buckminster Fuller that discovered something a little bit different when it comes to Darwin survival of the fittest.
Mm,
And what he realized is that if you look at the way lions work, right? You've got the male lion, and the male lion will sit there and he'll kind of chill on his rock, and then the other lions will go around, they'll make a kill, and they'll make sure that the main lion is there and he can go ahead and he can eat first and get all that other food and whatnot. And one of the things that he studied is that he's like, when you add more to the survival of others, when you help others get more of what they want, inevitably what ends up happening is they all conspire to find ways to help you do better and to help you succeed. And the reason that works with the lions is because they go, you know what, this main lion will help the protection and the survival of the entire pride. Should a dangerous predator
mm,
come
mm.
into that pride, that main lion will put his life on the line in order to protect everybody there. So they want to make sure that he's fed and that he's strong and that he's well rested and everything
Right.
else. And the same thing we see that goes on in this world. When you're able to add to the survival of others, when you can help them get more of what they want, get a better outcome, become more enriched, more loved, more
Mm,
wealthy,
mm,
more everything, they're going to conspire around to help you with more referrals, loyalty, repeat business, premium pricing, the whole deal, because you get paid in direct proportion to the impact
mm.
that you provide others.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. And I mean, I think that example of the lion is so true. It's so true because, again, when you've seen the National Geographic, are they still around? I don't know, Discovery Channel,
I
whatever,
think so.
the Netflix animal special, I guess, today, or the Mr. Beast, whatever. But he has the most scars. Not always, but just metaphorically. I love how you said it. The lionesses, they're birthing the lion pride, right? That's part of their responsibility, growing the pride, and they're doing the bulk of the hunt. But you're right. When there's a mega predator, hey guys, we're going to take care of the kids. Hide them in the little bush. You're well fed. Now you're tapped in. You better go. So I love that, Charles. You're exactly right. And I must say, thank God me and my wife are here with my newborn grandchild, not right here, but in
Yeah.
the family and surroundings. And this is kind of what we did here. We got issues in our marriage and all that, but my job was one thing: let me take care of her so she can be the best grandmother to our grandchild and mother our daughter. If you get what I mean. Yeah, I love my daughter, I love my grandson, but my job, it's the only reason. Charles, you think I would come here for 2 months, leave my nice little podcast studio to be here? No. But I said, let me come with her and help her, be an asset to her so she can be refreshed and full and help and do what she can best do better than me for our growing family. So
Yeah. there's the entrepreneurs that are so focused in on money and everything comes down to
Mhm.
money. This is funny. My company is predictable profits. So you would think that it should all be about money, money, money. But one of the things we realize through the years and decades of working and growing companies ourselves and so forth is, you get paid in direct proportion to the value and the impact that you provide others. And
Mhm.
so if you're sitting there and your focus is on money, you're not focused on impact, you're focused on what needs to happen in order for me to, somehow like hype you into or scam you into or whatever, like, get a
Mhm.
buck. And how can I do this for cheaper? You and I spoke earlier, this new product that I just launched, Founders Fuel, right? So Founders Fuel is a botanical supplement that helps founders with more calm, more focus, more everything. It was an accidental company. It was all formulated specifically for me. Just my I get paid in direct proportion of how I think. So this is all ultimately to optimize my brain. There's nothing like it on the market, which is why we did it. But when we put this to market, it's actually one of the most expensive supplements that you can get within this category. And everybody said to me, "Well, here's what you need to do. You need to go overseas. You need to get it cheaper,
Mhm.
cheaper ingredients. You need to go ahead and you need to change your manufacturing process in order to produce it cheaper. You shouldn't put it in a glass bottle. You should use a plastic bottle. It's going to be cheaper. And you got to do all this other stuff because it's going to be cheaper." And I said, "You know what? You're right that it's going to be cheaper. But I don't mind if I end up with several thousand bottles for myself if it doesn't sell or what, because here's the most important thing. What I committed to doing was building the number one focus supplement in the world that I was going to take myself. And so if if that's not good enough for other people and if it's too expensive or whatever, it's like it is what it is. I just want to put out the best thing out there. And we
Mhm.
were my team and I, so it's not just me, I have a team.
Mhm.
My entire team, we were uncompromising in the ingredients, uncompromising in the manufacturing, uncompromising in the way that we sourced content, sub ingredients for this. But that's kind of how you have to approach it when it comes to business. There are certain things that you have to be uncompromising. We have a
Mhm.
wonderful client at Predictable Profits. Her name is Lindsay. She's
Hi, Lindsay.
amazing. She's amazing. But one of the things that I love about Lindsay, when we first jump on the call together, Lindsay said, "Here's the deal. I would love to grow my business. I would love to make more money, but there are certain things that I'm not willing to give up." And I was like, "Well, what's this?" She said, "I want to be there every single day that my son gets off the bus." I
Mhm.
said, "Okay." I want to be there to help them with their homework. I don't want to miss any events with them. My core priorities are being a great mom and being a great wife. And if that means that I can't go on and I can't build an empire and the whole deal, then I'm okay with that. But that is what I want. And so I was like, great. Then if you want better answers, you need to ask better questions. So why don't we ask ourselves a different question? What needs to happen in order for you to build that empire while at the same time allowing you to be there to, at your kid's bus stop and to do everything that you want, be it. And so,
And let me just clarify 1 second. I want to clarify the parameter because I think for me, I suspect this could be important because I'm wondering. I want to know, what did Charles tell her? What's going on here? I want to know. So, school bus, which is defined time. Let's pretend 3 p.m. in any town, USA. Got it.
yep,
Maybe takes her 10 minutes to get there. 5 minutes. I'm going to assume, make some broad
yep,
assumptions. And then two, want to be there for the homework. So I'm going to assume that's kind of evening-ish at some point.
yep,
Could be daily, or
every
there's
day.
some days to cheat on that and say not Monday. Okay, so every day. That's
And be
okay.
there
Good.
as a
Good.
as a wife, so she wants to be there when her husband comes back and to be there to have that connection time, right?
That's another, guardrail. So Charleston, what in the world? Go ahead now. What did you tell her
We're
then? Because
just
I'm
like,
like, is it doable?
ask better questions, get better answers. So
Okay.
what we did is we redesigned the business and now she's killing it. We're, I mean,
Mm.
already in, I think it was in June of this year, I believe she was already surpassed what she did the year before. She's found ways now to grow the business. She went on an RV trip with her family. And while she's on this RV trip, she's closing deals. Clients are happy as
I
ever. Her
love it.
business continues to grow. And over, week after week, month after month, her business gets better. But Ramon, here's the interesting thing. Most people in her shoes would have been limited by the story of, I can't create a multi-million dollar business because I prioritize being there for the bus stop. I prioritize, being able to make dinner for the family. So I
They see it as limiting. They see it as limiting. You saw it as, these are just my parameters. Like Forrest Gump, I think it was. No, yeah. Forrest Gump or the maybe it was Captain America. I can't remember. But there was one of the things on the flagpole. They're like, who can get the flag, but you can't do this, that, and the other. And he's like, folksy, okay. He didn't say we couldn't pull the pin out of the bottom of the flagpole, so I pulled the pin out, the flagpole went down.
Well, look, I'm about to open up probably a firestorm, and it is what
Let's
it is.
go. Open it up.
But if you think about it, right, you could take the narrative and say, "I'm a black man." So I have disadvantages here and there. Nobody's going to hire me to be a small ambassador of their company. Who's going to bring me in to be a keynote? Who's going to do this and that, right? Because we've heard stories like that have been, some of them are pushed by the media, others of them are pushed by, legit people who feel disadvantaged and so forth.
Yes.
Why haven't you're very successful. You've had multiple companies, multiple exits. Why haven't you been limited by a story? You have every reason to be limited. And I'm sure you've experienced racism. I'm sure you've experienced difficulty. Why haven't you?
First of all, Charles, since you already said it, you did open a firestorm, and I'm going into the firestorm with you.
Okay,
I'm in the firestorm with you.
Good. Well, but I mean, the thing is like everybody, I could have used the excuse. I was diagnosed with having one of the worst cases of learning disabilities that the doctor had ever seen. I could have used that excuse throughout my life. I could have said, I can't be successful because I've got learning disabilities. I've got dyslexia. So I can't be successful.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're listening to the Beyond Seven Figures podcast, you may already have a great business and you've cracked that elusive seven-figure mark. But let's be honest, building a business is one thing, but scaling it to true, lasting profitability is a whole other ballgame. That's why I'm excited to share something special with you. It's the Predictable Profits Playbook written by Charles Gourdette. So go now to beyond7figures.com.
And I love this. So let me answer the question. Here's one thing I heard. Somebody asked this, in fact, of Damon John, the Entrepreneur Level Up conference I was at. They framed the question exactly as you said it. So, Charles, since you open up the fire door, I'm going to open up both fire doors. I'm going to put a match in it.
Sure.
And gasoline. But here's Damon John.
Race, by the way, for our listeners, this is all about what limiting stories are you telling yourself?
Right? Charles, you and I are cool. We are good. I know your heart. I know where you're coming from. But here's the thing. The guy asked a question. He was a black man who stood up and said, Damon John, as a black man. That's how he started. And I would look at Damon like, how Damon going to answer this? He said, as a black man, how do I find a mentor? Something like that. He made a presumptive question. Damon, as a black man, you know how hard it is. Now, Damon, I don't want to speak, but it was kind of like his response back was very similar to what you said. He was like, we all are who we are, as a female, as a Jew, as a black man, as a white guy who's disabled, as a veteran, whatever the issue may be, those things are the cards we're dealt with, we're born with. As a person whose father was drunk all day, not me, but came in and beat the heck out of me, and I, whatever. So to your point, but Damon's answer was something to the effect of, it is what it is, and we get the choice how we respond to it or not. Mm-hmm. And so to answer your question, though, specifically, Charles, sure, I've been given keys by people. It probably wasn't racism. They thought this is a guy who's dressed so dapper. He obviously is here to park the cars. Or I've been given luggage. I've been given luggage at restaurants, at the hotels. But honestly, 50-50, I didn't blame the people. I stand a certain way. Like my kids make fun of me. Dad, why do you sound like a Secret Service agent or a funeral director everywhere? Back straight. It's how I am. It's how I present myself. Yeah. And so the people are like, oh, here's a fine young man. Obviously, he looks safe. Here's our luggage, sir. Totally. To me, my main work's different, Charles, in those situations. I'm like, what an honor. But I'm like, ma'am, you want to see him? So the point is, Charles, why? It's how I'm dialed, Charles. It's how I'm dialed. I can choose any number of things. Why? As you just said, why am I not as big as this, invited as this? But I choose not. The other thing I'll tell you, the other thing that will free people, it'll free people, Charles. Instead of waiting to be anointed, anoint yourself.
Explain.
Or instead of, Yes. Explain. Yeah, well, or the simpler way is, instead of choosing to be invited to the table, make your own table. That's where I'm going. Meaning,
Ooh.
now, see. Ooh, I made Charles go. Ooh, see what I mean. See, you see where I'm going now,
Yeah, yeah.
Charles. Meaning, don't wait and just whine and moan. I would use other words about the circumstances around you. Just make your own luck. And you talked about this opportunity, Charles. You mentioned it. Bitdefender being their small business ambassador. All about how do you get small businesses to protect your brand. I made that happen, Charles. They were at an event I was at, sitting there in the room. I was keynoting the event, and I'm like, wow, what an amazing company. We started talking, started chatting. I made my own title and said, you need me to help represent you to millions of small businesses. Say, Ramon, exactly we do. And over a period of time, they said, Ramon, we'd love to partner with you and work with you. As Nike has Michael Jordan,
Yeah.
we got you. And that's how Ramon Ray became Bitdefender Small Business Brand Ambassador, but made my own luck. So, ooh, that was good.
Here's the thing that about you is you do make your own luck. Now, I won't mention brands unless you're comfortable mentioning brands, but we talked about two different media companies, and those media companies, it wasn't that you came, maybe some of them came knocking on your door, I don't know, but what I do know is that you turned around and you go, you know what, this sounds like a good opportunity, I am going after it.
That's right.
Sounds like a good opportunity, I am going after it. And so when you have been on so many stages, you have been on, I just watched recently, you were on the news talking about mindset not too long ago.
ABC, yeah.
Like, a lot of people look at that and be like, Ramon is so lucky. He gets all of these opportunities that come to him over and over again. And, he wrote the book, Celebrity CEO, and all this stuff. It says he's lucky. My situation is different. Ramon is just lucky. But I've gotten to know you. And just as what you said, you create your own luck. Bitdefender didn't come to you, you went to them. And then some of those other brands, if you want to mention them, that's fine. You went to them. And you're like, I have an idea for you. I have a show concept for you. I have this and that. And then that's happening.
Yeah, exactly right. And hey, we may have to break news on the next Predictable Profits Beyond Seven Figures podcast if this happens. But I'll just tell you, Charles, as I said, yes, Yahoo Finance, I'll mention it right publicly. Tomorrow, as we record this, I have a talk with their executive leadership team. They may say no. No happens to me all the time, but they might say yes to an idea. Same thing with Entrepreneur Level Up, one of the biggest entrepreneur brands besides Charles in the world. It was me. They didn't have, people could look at it, the Entrepreneur Level Up event, Damon John, all these big speakers. I was not on the website until I was, and until I pitched them and said, hey, don't you need a host? And from that is coming so many things. So Charles, to your point, I think that this is why I love talking about you. You are the predictable profits guy. You are the guy who knows the mojo of building the best business in the world, building a scalable, repeatable business. That's what you do. And combined with what I do very well, this aspect of branding and being the celebrity CEO and making a network and making people laugh and talk to you, that's an unstoppable business, man. That's unstoppable.
Yeah. Well, it's a reflection of inside and outside, right? Yeah. Because you got the brain, but then you need the brain, you need the strategy. Like, there's so many different things. I could be the strategy, everything that you need, tied in a bow, simple thing. But if you don't have the persistence, if you don't have the drive, if you don't have any of that stuff, it's never actually going to get done. And here's the thing, or you take the opposite. You could be like, I don't have any strategy. I don't really know what to do, but you know what? I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to call them anyway. Yes. And I'm going to see what happens. Yes. I would actually much rather be the guy that says, well, I don't really have the strategy, but I'm going to pick up the call and see what happens, than do nothing and accumulate a whole bunch of knowledge but don't take the action. But you've gotten used to being uncomfortable over the years.
That's a game changer, Charles.
One time I heard this quote and I liked it. It said, success is on the other side of fear, right? And so everybody knows that there's certain things that they should be doing, but they don't actually do it because it makes them uncomfortable to some level, or maybe they're afraid, right? And so what they should be doing and what's holding them back, if they were to do it, they'd be much more successful, because they could just embrace that discomfort and get on that other side, that do well, picking up the phone and calling Yahoo Finance, getting off the stage and going right to Bitdefender. For most people, they would be like, sounds great, but I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. Like you didn't have time to prepare yourself and be like,
No,
Bitdefender sitting over there. Hold on.
that's right.
Let me take some time. Let me create a business plan. Let me go to AI
Oh,
and come up with an idea, solution. Then I'm gonna go. You're like, you know what? F this. I'm getting off the stage.
it's
I'm walking right over and let's just start a conversation.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right, Charles. And it always from relationships. I mean, all that I must say, some things can be random. I've done that too, as you may know. With totally blind, no one knowing me for anything. But most of the best things, and I'd be curious what you think, Charles. There's some inclination, somebody to warm something for me in a good way.
Yeah.
Yes, it's random, Charles. Like the introduction I want to make for you, this person who's huge in some certain things she does that we were talking about offline, but you don't know her.
No.
But it won't be totally blind. It'll be Ramon saying, yo, this person's name, Charles is amazing. Me already validating her to you, which I've done. It's another warm lead. And maybe you use her, maybe you don't, but that's somebody else now in your network, Charles.
Absolutely.
Somebody else in your network who has millions of followers. So my point is, to your point, people, just to recap this gem that you said, Charles, yes, there's the serendipity. There's the where you don't know anything, no time to prepare.
Yeah.
That happens and you better be ready for it.
Yep.
But oftentimes, as Charles and I attest to, it's at least that one person. I can go to somebody and I see on LinkedIn, they're connected to Charles. They don't know me, but I can say, yo, Charles, do me a solid. Can you just text your boy here and say, hey, Ramon's legit, Ramon's cool, give him 5 minutes. That's all I need.
Yeah.
That's all I need.
But see, there's
So.
a difference, and this is the way it works that I think that people need to understand. Earlier in this podcast, we talked about surrounding yourself with people that operate at a higher temperature. See, I get requests like that all the time where people want something and want something and want something, and they're ignored. And they're ignored because they've never made an offer to add value back and try to support me in some way. And it's like, not that we're horse trading,
Mhm.
because when I do something for you, there was never, and we know this, it has to be so authentic that, and it just authentically you all the way down to the soul that there's never any doubt. Like you don't do it with any precondition or whatnot. Like when you made that offer to me to say, hey, I want to introduce this, or when I made that offer to you, hey, you know what? Let me text this guy. I'm going to get you on
Right?
stage and whatnot. There was never an understanding of, hey, let's do this. And when you operate at this level, there was never hey, if you get on stage and I introduce you, then you got to give me a commission for, there's never, I would refuse it, right? Because it's like, that's not the way that you operate when you surround yourself with people that
Yeah,
are givers that understand
that's
it's
right.
all about the real Darwin survival of the fittest, that your focus has to be on impact. The focus has to be on delivering value. And it's just like, you just do it and you just know somehow, somewhere, like it'll come back to me. Like, I don't know
That's right.
how, I don't know from who, I don't know whatever. It doesn't matter. My focus
That's
is
right.
just on that. In fact,
That's right.
Buckminster Fuller, he used this
Mm.
example. In fact, I was mentored under a gentleman that was the protege for both Buckminster Fuller and Dr. W. Aldrich Deming. His name was Marshall Thurber. Really brilliant man. We did some business together and the whole deal. Marshall was telling me when he sat with Buckminster Fuller and he told him about this stuff about wanting to give, 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 he wanted to prove it to Marshall. And so he said to Marshall, come over to my house and then I'm going to have you write checks to all these charities and just kind of like give it away. And Marshall's like, wait a minute, what are we doing? And he goes, just basically almost zeroed his bank account. And he said, I'm not sure that's really a smart idea. And he goes, Marshall, I'm doing so much good in this world. My
Mm.
focus is on creating such an impact. I just know that everything will be fine and my bills will be covered and everything else, I'm not worried about it. And he was so intent on adding value and driving impact and everything else.
Mm.
And then Marshall said it started with just a few hours writing checks. Then it became several hours. Then it became the full day of writing
Mm.
checks. Then it became the whole weekend because so much money kept coming in of writing checks and he was always giving this money out. And he says, Charlie, the funny thing is that when Bucky died, there were a lot of people that spread these rumors that Bucky died broke. And he goes, Bucky didn't die broke. Bucky
Mm.
had me writing checks all over the place because he was making like tons and tons and tons of money.
Yes. Yes.
So I guess the whole moral of the story here is that you get paid in direct proportion to the value and the impact that you provide others. And there's another reason why we're bringing this up today, because with AI and so forth, right?
Mhm,
So many people are focused on the result that it is that they provide. For example,
mhm,
so many people are focused in on, say, I am video marketing, I do SEO, I do PPC, I
mhm,
do fill in the blanks, whatever that
mhm,
might be.
mhm,
And in AI is commoditizing so much right now. If you are, I am PPC, SEO, whatever it is, you will not survive the next wave of disruption. In order for you to survive the next wave of disruption, you have to be the number one in the outcome that you deliver. And
mhm.
so, what is that ultimate outcome? Because you are not in the business, like, for example, you are not in the business of video marketing. What are you in the business
That's right.
of? You're in the business of helping somebody increase case values
Yeah,
or
or lead generation or something.
yeah,
Mm,
you're in an outcome-based
mm,
business, right? And then
yes.
that outcome has to be tied to an impact. What are we in the business of? We're in the business of helping companies grow predictably month after month, year after year. And it's like,
Mm,
okay, so we're in the business of creating predictable growth, predictable profits month after month, year after year. And we just happen to be the only people, to the best of my knowledge, to have a framework for 6, 7, and 8 figure companies to be able to grow month after month, year after year. Other frameworks are built by McKinsey, Bain, and so forth. We just happen to have the only
yes.
one, to the best of my knowledge, only proven framework for 6, 7, and 8 figures to do that. But it's all based on an outcome. Like
Yeah.
people need to have an outcome, not a result. It's very hard to be like, I'm going to make an impact, video marketing, that means I got to put out more videos. Instead, it's like, no, what are you trying to do? I'm going to
Mm,
increase case values or whatever it might be. Boom, that's the
mhm, mhm.
impact. Or for
Yeah.
some people like Richard Branson, it's a social impact,
Mhm,
you
mhm.
know,
Especially at this stage of his business, especially.
in
Mhm.
life,
Yeah.
right?
By the way, I just realized, Charles, that if Richard Branson ever had a movie about him, you would be a doppelganger for the younger version of him in some way. Maybe it's the beard, I don't know what it is, some version, I can see something
I
there.
had a woman when I was actually traveling in South Africa. I had a woman
Ye
who stopped me while I was having lunch, and she was like, "Darwin, I know you," and I was like, "What?" She goes, "I know you. I specifically know your father," and I'm like, "What? Huh?" And long story short, she painting of Richard Branson, and she thought I was Richard Branson's son. I pulled out my passport to prove it because she was so insulted that
I love it.
yeah, it's crazy. And by the way, as a quick side note, I named my son Branson.
Nice.
So
Nice.
yeah.
To cause more confusion in the world.
Yeah, well, he's
And
my professional role model for many reasons.
Oh, okay, I love it, and I wanna add one more thing, Charles, to what you said. And again, Charles, thanks for having me here, and everybody who's listening to this, who's maybe from my community, check out what Charles is doing with predictable profits. I love how it goes together. Predictable profits. Profits are easy, revenue is easy, but predictable is where most of us, even somebody like myself, has challenges. But I like what you said, Charles, and I think, Charles, let me know that you do this. We want you to do that serendipitous relationship building for the greater good. How can I just add value? But also do sign legal agreements and do things right
Oh,
as
of
things scale.
course.
Meaning, trust me, if Charles's product and things we're talking about gets like $100 million valuation 2 years from now, and especially I had a part of it, and he's like, "Who's Ramon? Ramon? I don't know Ramon. I'm gonna find this guy. I'm gonna go chase him down." But I didn't want to add one more thing to that, Charles. I just remembered when I was at the Entrepreneur Level Up event, somebody came to me, because I was the host and I was at the stage, and I was honored to represent
Yeah.
the entrepreneur. And they said, people would come up to me, Ramon, can you give this to Robert Herjavec? Ramon, can you help me reach Damon John? Ramon, can you help me reach Kim Perrell? All these amazing people they wanted me to give their products to. One man came up to me, I'm trying to reach Damon John. And I said, curious, because I reach all these people. These people know me. We work in some way, shape, or fashion. I said, how are you pitching Damon? Well, I told him my business is here. I said, stop. That's exactly the problem.
Yeah.
Damon John is so high flying, gets so many leads. Forget just you and I, Charles. You get so many leads, but he's so high flying, cutting at him, hitting him that angle is never going to get anywhere.
And also
Start by
coming
just
to
liking him
you
on IG.
randomly off
Saying,
the stage and say, "Can you do this?" is also not the
yeah,
right angle.
deep. That's exactly right as well. You know what, Charles? I'm gonna even riff off that. You're right. If they would have came down and said, Ramon, thanks for hosting. Can I have 5 minutes of your time to get some? Blah? I would have stopped everything. But just you're exactly right. They rushed up through the card, and I totally get it, Charles. They haven't been trained. They haven't listened to Charles and Ramon. But you're exactly right. So both of those were wrong. But my point being, as you just said, it's the softer approach sometimes. Hey, Charles, notice your shirt says entrepreneur, founder, CEO. Curious what it's about. We have a conversation. And then, sure, getting to the point here, Charles, I really wanted to know, Do you mind if we have another conversation? Whatever it is, but something a bit softer, a bit more human, not just Charles. Can you buy? Can you buy?
Yep.
Can you do for me? It rarely doesn't work.
I'm going to give everybody a little tip into how this works based on how you and I started this conversation before we pressed record. The very first words out of your mouth were, "Hey, Charles, before we start this podcast, can you please tell me what's going on with your life on a personal level?"
Yes.
And then we shared what was going on personal, and instantly, because it's just ingrained in who you are, you started thinking, how can I help him? And you're like, "Oh, I have this idea. How can I help you?" And then it was just automatically like, Here's how I can add more value." And then we exchanged this conversation, and then I learned more about you. But see, this is how relationships are. I haven't asked anything of you. You haven't asked anything of me. It doesn't. It like it's just it's one.
And we both fed each other.
And we both helped each other, right?
We didn't ask anything, and we both are filled in this short, in the metaphorically. Isn't that ironic?
But the
We
thing
we
is,
didn't ask anybody for money, but we both sent each other money.
But I almost don't even have
Both
to
each other.
ask you, because when you come into it
Yes.
with the intention of how do I add more value into their
Yes.
life, all that stuff happens organically.
That's right. That's right.
I see, the beautiful thing about these podcasts, Ramon, I never know where they're going to go. I never know where they're going to go. You've created such a wonderful life. You've got this great book. You've got your own press. You've got these great opportunities. You've got all this like wonderful, wonderful stuff. And it's nice to be able to go back and pull a few layers down to be like, what is really the core behind how all of this starts? And, you lean into discomfort. You're a giver big time. You're adding value into people's lives. And it's like, inevitably, just like we talked about survival of the fittest, it makes others want to do more for you. Like, we're just compelled to want to do more for you. It's the magnetic.
Please do.
Yeah, well, it's the magneticism that you've created, because you've created this environment where people just want to continue to support you, want to continue to do more, want to bring you on the stage, want to introduce you to people, want to give you more opportunity, because of just, this isn't manufactured. This is genuine in who you are, and that's really important.
Yep.
And I know
Well, thank you, Charles.
I know we're pushing against the clock, and you are a busy dude, and you've got a grandkid to get to.
Yep.
So this is the Beyond Seven Figures podcast. What would you say is your best tip for our listeners who want to take their business beyond seven figures?
Yeah, I think two things I would say is, one, you definitely have to have scalable systems. That's number one. Sounds simple, I'm sure Charles said it, but scalable systems. Number two, get used to not working on the businesses or in the business, of the term is get used to not being the tactical thing that you started the business with, and hiring other people who can help expand the business with you. This is what I've learned. Yes, do I like people think I'm a blogger? No, I hire other people, use other tools to write the content. I'm not a blogger. I find smart people, I collect them that I can work with. And I'll give a third thing, Charles. It's people like yourself. Charles has an asset. How can I 10x that asset? I will then add that to my seven-figure journey, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
So that's part number two. But A, hire good people. Number two, scalable systems. But number three, also, how I'm looking at it, how can I take what somebody else is running so well, add just a little bit of value to it? He's already got the system built. Let me just add to what he's doing in a joint venture or partnership in some way. Scalability built in.
Love it, man. Love it. Now, people want to learn more about you and the work that you do. Where do we send them?
Thanks, Charles. You can go to RamonRay.com, RamonRay.com, and I encourage everybody, secure your brand, build a secure business. Check us out at Bitdefender.com/Ramon. You lock the doors of your house at night, you lock your car door. We want to make sure you also secure your business. So check me out at Bitdefender.com/Ramon. Charles, you are amazing, and thanks for having me.
You are very welcome. I'd also encourage you to go on LinkedIn and look up Ramon Ray on LinkedIn. He posts some great content over there too. I would encourage you to do that. And if you haven't already, grab his book, Celebrity CEO. I would recommend that as well. So it wraps up today's episode of the Beyond Seven Figures podcast. As a reminder, for more strategies to grow your company faster, more predictably, and less dependent on you, also check us out at predictableprofits.com. Again, that is predictableprofits.com. This is Charles Gaudette with my friend Ramon Ray, and I will see you in another episode.